mine 50 times.
How does refraction go away?
Well, that's their claim, right? But I've got this diagram which John now uses. The curved path of light gets blocked by the physical mountain. They have a great deal of trouble understanding that. Let's see if I've got it on my phone. If I do, I'll chuck in the chat.
And it seems to be such a dismissal of every observatory that makes the ephemeris all around the globe for centuries.
Yeah, I didn't bother joining today. I was like, I listened to a little bit, and I was like, I've said what I needed to say. Here it is. I found it. It's a bit old. Hold on.
Because I measured, again, it was at 13 degrees, not 2 degrees. I mean, I got 240 arc seconds. To me, that was a big fucking number. But for that hit for a couple of seconds to what I measured, and my crosshairs are 4 arc seconds wide, and I'm 3 arc seconds off. I mean, cut me some slack.
Save images. All right, I'll chuck these in the chat. One sec. Do. There we go. Oh, it's kind of the second one. Hold on. Oops. Export. Okay. So I'm in the car, right? And the aircon goes down when you're on the phone because it picks up and tries to get less noise. But I fucking want the aircon on. I don't know how to tell it not to. Thank you, Jerry.
I mean, approaching it with even a wee bit of science here, you determine the shape of the Earth first, and then you move on to dimensions. So after you got sunrise, sunset, eclipses, tides, and the South Pole exists, the shape is confirmed.
Yeah.
And the Antarctica 24-hour sun.
Yeah. Is that a red cloud?
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Roohif.
Hello, Governor.
Hello, Governor. Roohif, and I like that reference. That's cool.
Yeah.
Is that a real drug?
No.
Rohypnol
is, yeah.
Oh, it is? Okay. They mentioned it.
Is. Yeah.
No, they mentioned it in IT Crowd TV show.
No.
No, yeah, the car will do that. If it thinks you're in a phone call, it'll turn the air down.
Yeah.
It's badly annoying.
I've hit switch to phone, so I am on my phone, but it hasn't cranked up the aircon. It's like 28 degrees.
Then in that case, just unplug it.
It's not plugged in, it's Bluetooth.
Yeah.
I could turn it off.
Just use the phone speaker. So
I got a ISS transit this morning, by the way.
A what transit?
An ISS transit across the moon.
Nice.
Yeah. I was actually a bit rubbish.
Could you see the tracking capsule?
No, had too long exposure, and
no. I was just being funny.
Shorten the exposure and crank up the ISO.
You'd need some serious gear to see the dragon, even if it's even if it's at the right orientation.
I got too much motion blur.
Yeah. It'd be a serious.
So I'll do better next time.
The problem is that your shutter speeds tend to be kind of too low.
Too high?
generally. Yeah,
Too
they're
long.
too low to catch it sharp.
Yeah.
It's tricky. Oh, you're using Celestron?
No, just a P900. I got up at 6 o'clock this morning. I just fucking chucked it all together. Didn't properly align, but it was close enough.
I can understand why so many people use it. It's a cracking camera for the price. It's not a good camera, but for the price and its capabilities, it's one of the better ones. If you know,
For the zoom, basically, that's it.
yeah, that's it. It's got the sensor is the size of your pinky fingernail,
Yeah.
and you can't use RAW. The 1000 is better because you can actually shoot in RAW. As soon as I heard it didn't shoot RAW, I was, oh no. Yeah. But you can get them for buttons, so. Anyway,
to my 13 at the time.
that's
And one of the things that I'd heard early on is they were always comparing the angle to the star from the mountain and the angle from the star from his house, as if vertical is parallel at locations, and then miraculously being 52 miles apart, that's like 28 arc minutes, almost exactly half a degree. I mean,
Yeah, 50 days, yeah. Like 27 arc minutes, I think it was.
yeah, it's 50. Yeah, the 32 miles, yeah, 28 nautical miles.
Gee, I do wonder about back when I sort of was in EtherCos just to chat, shoot the breeze with Shane and whoever.
right.
They were fun, and then they sort of shifted into debating, and I was like, oh, okay, fine, but I don't know, it changed how I view them quite a lot.
Well, what I think I've seen is that for all practical purposes, I'm going to use the word practicable. The information isn't practicable. There's nothing that you could apply it to. And so the only thing I can think of that you could apply it to is to debate it. It doesn't have a. It doesn't have a.
Yeah, you can't see the unrefracted position of the star. Like the only thing you can measure is the optical position. It's so weird. But then when you ask straight up, do you accept that refraction changes the apparent position of objects? They say, yeah. I just fucking include it.
How can you do? How can both be? Okay.
Well, yeah, for some reason, they think that the apparent position, that's the only information you can ever have is apparent. I mean, but they think it's like, oh, that's not even the real position. We're going for the real position. I go, well, if you're viewing it, it's apparent. And then we know through hundreds of years of study, the refraction, the astronomical refraction, the terrestrial refraction, a very, very mature science, and it all seems to work out. It all seems to work out, and then the 24-hour sun in Antarctica shows up.
Yeah. Present company I won't mention, but I had a discussion last night about how if you're at the equator, and the path of the stars, the path of the sun goes straight down as it sets, and then 12 hours later, you're facing east, so you turn around, and those same stars rise straight up vertically. The simple question was, what is the path that these stars and the sun take from the west back around to your east?
Yes.
And wow.
Once they're out of sight, what do they do? What are they doing once they go beyond your vision?
Not to mention the fact that when looking at the South Celestial Pole and you lock your camera on there for a time lapse for star trails, it never goes left or right and leaves the field of view to show up, in South Africa, and then later at a later time show up in South America, and at a different time in Australia. Right? It's always locked in the center of the field of view of all three cameras. The only thing is it fades in the daylight, but it never didn't go to the edge. Oh, I got another camera to get to. Bye.
Yeah, sometimes listening to Jaron will talk about the South Celestial Pole, and he'll say something like, "Oh, I always thought that it moved during the night." I'm fucking screaming, like, have you never asked anyone in the Southern Hemisphere? Like, it's just embarrassing. Which I'm sure is embarrassing.
But Jaron's been fixed. He woke up.
Jaron flipped, but he's still the same stubborn son of a bitch.
Yeah, he's still very
okay, not entirely fixed, just one less conspiracy.
Yeah.
Can you guys help me out? They're trying to out me as a Glober. You guys can vouch for me.
I don't know.
You're a Glober.
I hear rumors, Dan.
I know. I'm fucking first. I can't fucking believe it. I mean, I fought hard to be a flat earther, and they fought hard to throw me out, and it's like a weird thing to fight to want to be at this point.
Were you selling those flat clocks?
No, that's a different dude.
You could say
Chris.
I thought Dad was selling one or two of them or something.
I had.
But also,
what's his name?
I had an example of one that's not. The clocks are different than the models, and I did have the clocks on that FE People site.
Are they still selling well?
And I have like 60 clocks.
Oh, so you do have clocks.
Well, I've never sold one, but I always thought we'd have like Arts and Crafts Day. We'd all make them together,
Little crochet flat Earth.
Yeah.
I would quickly say to a previous statement, Jaron isn't like one conspiracy short. if you look at like the context, a lot of things that he's saying, he's essentially ditching most conspiracies because of the thought processes required for like this.
Well,
Kind of breaks a lot of other
the only
things.
thing he shit on was the Mandela effect. You didn't hear him shit on anything else.
Well, Jaron is in transition, and when he was talking to McKeegan, and he wants to sit down and see what's really not wrong with the Apollo photography, he's waking up to the fact that just because it's in academia doesn't automatically make it a lie.
I don't agree. I don't agree that he's in transition. I think he's already transitioned. You can hear like the way that he talks about like 9/11.
Oh, okay. So you're not basing it on what he's actually said recently.
No, recently, like recently in the context that like the way that other non-cosmology related conspiracies have been talked about. It does seem that he's like heavily softened up on them. And if like you would ask him directly about any of the various conspiracies, aside from maybe like the most obvious ones, like fluoride and water or something, like normally conspiracies that like
I suggest you watch the speech that he gave instead of speculating so much.
Yeah, that was a great hour of power. I loved it because he showed the psychology of how you get locked in and how obviously wrong he was.
Well, except that they showed themselves. That guy Ross showed himself. The blue shirts from Nat Geo were there. That's their gig. And and they claimed, they said when Jaron said, hey, mainstream caused some of this trouble by showing shit that wasn't accurate. They said, but Ross stated that the white stripe was obscured in the Nat Geo tests, and they did their own documentary and never showed that. It's bullshit. If it was true, everyone would have seen that and everyone would have shown that. So I just want you to know he's still lying about the results of that through his own eyes.
How many people know about that though? That's not mainstream. It may seem mainstream because it's paid attention to in here, but it's not. I've never heard of it.
Mainstream would be
millions of views on a
it had 8 million views at one point.
Yeah. Mainstream would be more defined by the sources that they come from, not how many people have seen something.
It doesn't matter. It came out of fucking Nat Geo.
That's what I mean. I'm affirming your point.
All right. So those guys made their own thing, and if they had anything that would have debunked anything, they would have shown it. In other words, they didn't show a white stripe obscuring it. They're claiming it today, and I promise you that I'll never get Jaron to get them to show it. So,
well, one thing that I did learn about the Salton Sea battle flag is that the black stripe is not in the middle, and so when you see that photograph, and you assume there's the same stripe count on both ends. That's where
you have to ignore the videos of us making it. You have to ignore the launch. You have to ignore a whole lot.
But even then, you don't immediately pick up on.
I know you can't count to 6. I get it.
No, you just don't immediately pick up on it.
6, man. Count to 6. It ain't that hard.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you don't bother, unless you just look at it, it looks symmetrical, and you don't count.
Well, unfortunately, people do make lots of assumptions.
Yeah, that's what I just said. I was affirming that assumption, and it wasn't until that listen to Jaron to realize the asymmetry of the battle flag.
Well, that's because Jaron spent 4 years claiming that it was a deliberate trick when it wasn't. It was Sidney and Spencer that made it, and it was far from deliberate. It had to do with the width of the roller.
Okay, there was just right. It was not intentionally to make it look asymmetrical so that they could pretend there's another stripe down there that's not there. No, I got it, but it's like nobody's quoting Nat Geo in a fucking white paper.
Nobody's quoting white paper anywhere in life. I mean, think about it. I mean, Neil deGrasse said that Coriolis affected field goal kickers. Is there a white paper on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's more of the question of, white papers and officially published scientific peer-reviewed documents are one thing, but then there's the question of why is the science communication having these particular instances of falsehoods in it?
Because any communication of any kind, you're going to get that eventually. How long have they been in science communication in that manner? Decades and decades. At some point, you're going to get some kind of misinformation, some kind of error.
This was pseudoscience. This was amateurs on our side and paranormal debunkers on the other side who begged not to be called scientists.
No, I know. Those are the guys you debated, and to call them scientists was a bit of a stretch. They were not scientists.
But we all agreed on the premise, of the observation at 3.2 miles. Everyone still agrees on that, and there is no demonstration of curvature.
Yeah,
So
there
it's
can be perfectly valid arguments like it's just edutainment and they're not actually trying to be super, super accurate. They're just trying to get a good result. And instead of spending more days making sure that the experiment is actually properly correct, they'll just do a little, like, we'll fix it in post. It's a very common thing that goes on in like Hollywood and stuff. So that,
Exactly.
yeah. So like that can be a perfectly valid explanation for these things, but like it would just actually have to be like drilled down to that being the point, as opposed to saying like anything else that's not addressing that specific point.
Yeah, and then this is not even I don't even hear anyone mentioning what PBS did, using Stephen Hawking's, arguably the quote-unquote smartest man alive at the time.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened there, is post-production, because what would have happened is they would have seen one thing in the morning before the sun got up, and as soon as the sun hits, you suddenly can't see the shore any longer. So they would have said, fuck, here's the helicopter, and we can't see it, but we damn well could earlier. So they looked at each other and they go, well, we can't come home with nothing. We damn well know what we saw earlier. And so it's kind of weird. But that's why we went back to Salton Sea, because you can see across that 10-mile span. You definitely can. They're full of shit.
Here's the question. Have you ever heard anyone on our side say, well, Nat Geo said? No. The answer is no. You will never hear us citing Nat Geo. Cite the people that we cite. It's like Nat Geo or Tyson or anyone like that.
The guy last Saturday, Ross Blocker, said, oh, I saw the white totally obstructed. Partially obstructed. But no one else saw that, and he's lying. So this is an individual currently lying about the same observation.
Yeah, the video should be taken down, or at least have a warning for the children that watch.
Yeah, the only point that I would say there of like citing the sources is that it is very important what gets distributed to the normies. Like an example that I would give is that there's a lot of these like fake anonymous stories about like, oh, after I got pregnant, my husband stopped loving me. And because it's like anonymous and it's like written in a particular structure, it's going to make people who consume that through like, short form media content or whatever, believe that that's something that actually happens on like a large time scale. And that's plausible to actually happen. And you can say, obviously, the solution is don't watch short form media. Don't watch all of these like AI videos or something, which is sure, yes. But the problem isn't what do I personally do for myself to not consume this like fake algorithmic content. The problem is that this is something that is being distributed to normies, and it is important that what is distributed to normies has a high standard, and that even though I don't consume normie content, I care more about what normies consume because they don't have the same faculties that I do about seeing that this story is fake.
You care more than they do.
I care more about what they see than they do, yes.
Yeah, all right, yeah. It's people get more offended. People get offended for other people. That's the other one I've seen. No, I'm not downplaying what you're saying. I'm sorry if that sounded. I didn't mean to.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I get what you're saying.
So I gotta go listen to Karen B's stream from this morning because I've already been told that she went off on me as a Glober, and it's like I can't fucking win. It's like I go to the Globers and they say you're flat. I go to the Flat Earthers, they say you're a Glober, and I'm clearly neither. I clearly don't fit in. I'm not. I don't feel.
Is
like
Karen B still relevant? I haven't seen or heard anything out of Karen B in a long time.
Well, she's relevant to her fans and her people. She actually has the only fucking normal show on the internet is a Monday morning, what she calls Coffee Talk.
Coffee talk.
It's the only show where you'll hear anything close to anything, news or real or anything.
Run the flat Earth coffee. That dude.
It's the only place you'll hear anything close to real, but she's a flat earther. No problem.
No, here's the truth. She fucking called everyone retards. She left Mark's show and she stopped doing conferences. She said today that she should walk away entirely. Still,
Why is she walking away?
fucking totally ungrateful, fucking worthless, fucking pains in the ass. And the truth movement disappeared in 2019. So everyone who thought they got, like myself and like Jaron, who got involved in what they thought was a truth movement, has been gone for a long time, and it's been a real tough pill to swallow. It's taken this long for there to be any. I mean, look, they're saying that Robbie, Paul, and Patricia flipped. They left then. They left that long ago. You have to understand. You know,
But on Patricia though, right quick, I saw her in a chat texting, and someone was on her, and she said herself, "I did not flip. Leadership fell apart, and that's why she left."
I talked to her today. Yeah, she's adamant that she's neither flat or globe, and that it's not, for her to say. Or
I mean, that is flipping from being one position going to another. It's only not flipping if you're thinking about it in a dichotomy, but it is clearly a dramatic shift in position.
She's not staying in the fight, is what's happening. She's not staying in the fray, as it were.
Yeah, but it is flipping from going from I'm an active battle participant and I fight for the blue team to saying,
then why isn't anyone calling
right.
Karen flip? Why isn't anyone saying Karen flipped when she clearly stopped doing Mark's show and didn't say a fucking word, stopped doing conferences, didn't say a fucking word, and the only word she said was, "You're all retarded."
She did do that.
So understand the reality, and when people are being put under the bus or not. The reality is Weiss started this campaign against Jaron, so he had a way out. And Jaron's a patsy. And Jaron has not been the nicest man over the years, so they had no problem watching him fry, just like me. They've been trying to make me fry for a long time. And fucking Cammy went after me today, and the fucking gloves are off, man. The Bob shit, I'm going to tell everyone about Bob. Huh. And fucking Jaron has got to realize Bob's dead and stop protecting him. Because Bob was a fucking incredible bottle in this the whole time. That's before religion.
Yeah, front lines. So it is safe to say that
Fucking incredible bottle in this the whole time. That's before religion.
Yeah, front lines. So it is safe to say that some people, maybe they solidified their position. Maybe some people are still 100%. Maybe some people are 95%.
It doesn't matter. There's nothing to call a good flat earther that doesn't agree with what's going on today. There's nothing to call it. They can't. The truth movement that I got involved with dismantled 5 years ago, and I've been fighting to wait for it to come around as something that could be a group, and it just can't. It won't. It can't. It won't. It won't.
They won't because of what, the government?
No, I just think it's because of Christian retard.
It is a good thing though to have splinter groups. Like if your groups have different values, you want to split along the lines where you actually share values. So when Christians see all of these silly people saying non-Christian things, they're obviously going to want to make their own groups.
But I can't join the Christians because the Christians have 30,000 churches and don't get along. So there isn't a place where I can even rely upon religion to be of any value. And so everything's become a matter of faith, but people have put their faith in different areas. And when it comes down to the truth or something real, hey, you get thrown the fuck out.
There's very simple things that like 99% of all Christians agree upon. Like the differences are, it's like with politicians in America, right? It's like, oh, they're so far apart of each other. Like these are the biggest things ever. Meanwhile, they agree with each other on 99.99% of things.
Yeah, like the pillars, the foundations, the axioms, right? There's creation, there's rules, there's judgment, and then there's mercy. It's very simple. You can convert a non-believer in 3 minutes if they're open-hearted, or if they have an open heart and open mind.
And I got two major problems with that. First of all, in my ignorance of the Creator, that doesn't mean that he doesn't work through me. He or she works through me. It doesn't need my permission. So my subconscious mission here is not for me to judge. I mean, it's really true. I don't know anything about it, but at the same time, I could claim to be a Jew, and then suddenly I've got all this edge, and suddenly I'm chosen, and I can speak with some sort of authority, and they don't even ask me. They'll let me right in. So all I have to do is say I'm a Jew. So religion is goofy.
Yeah, and Jews are not Christians. Christians think Jews are silly.
But it's based on the same book.
Like there is overlap, yes, but there's a specific thing, a very important thing that the Jews deny that the Christians affirm. It's a pretty important difference.
But Jesus is still waiting, and that he's coming back. Is that it?
That Jesus Christ is God, is the Son of God, and that he is like who he said he was, and like the New Testament and all that stuff is affirmed as being divinely inspired. Whereas the entire thing about Jewish people is that they deny Christ. That is the thing that defines them, is that they deny Christ.
Yep, they're still waiting for the Messiah.
It's all silly. All of it.
Is it silly to have rules from a creator?
It's just my thing.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. No.
It's just my thing. I want to put this with Q up is that like if all of these things are so silly, then there's no need to like strawman or misrepresent these things. Like every single person that I hear in these spheres that try to make arguments against Christianity overwhelmingly misrepresent positions in very like ill-intended ways. So commonly.
That's true.
So if it's wrong, you can just take it at its strongest point.
Great point. Just a little bit of research will let you, if you have an unbiased approach, you can find out that the largest church within Christianity had their hand in hiding and killing Christians for many generations. So I wouldn't trust them as a source for Christianity.
We are those Catholics and their Christians, right?
Oh yeah, it's Catholics.
It's a relationship that's sort of tenuously, kept. They keep each other a little bit at arm's length in some respects. They're not like they don't they don't evangelize each other, but they keep it at arm's length a little. Depends on who you're around. The first ever youth group I was in, it was a mix of all sorts. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, Ray Cloud, I have a question for you. No pressure, anyone here. Okay, imagine, let's put ourselves back in the year of William Tyndale. We just discovered that over 1,000 years, these Romans from the Vatican were lying to us and our family and persecuting people of our land for trying to access the Bible. And we found out they were literally telling us the complete opposite. What would you want to? How would you feel?
I feel bad. Not sure. What's the right answer? What should I?
Well, no, it's okay. It's open. Everyone's gonna have their own. I don't want to tell you how you should feel. I'm half British. I would be offended that these outsiders would lie to us and our family for thousands of years. So I think what the other Christians did at the time, they kicked off the Protestant Reformation to kick them out of the country for lying and stealing for generations. So the thing is, I think those people that were kicked out, they never gave up. They decided their attack was ongoing because to them it's spiritual war for them too. They want control.
I do know that the Church of England was not formed for religious reasons, which is kind of funny. The Church of England was founded because Henry VIII, wanted to marry, and the church wouldn't let him. A divorced woman, I think it was, or someone, and they wouldn't let him, so he formed the Church of England.
Oh yeah, that's very interesting. Wow.
I thought that was kind of interesting.
Oh yeah, imagine you're the king, and then you have the Vatican trying to control you and get you on their side.
And they're worried about Trump wanting to be a dictator. Got no idea what a king could do. Have you read the history?
Yeah, history's wild. So that's the thing. Like, I think the Romans are at it again, and evidence of that is the Reformation of 1500s, where they were telling people the globe is the heliocentric model, and then they backed, and then they pushed heliocentric ideas, and then we have the Big Bang from them as well, which is opposite of the Bible. And then it works out. People do the math and they find out, oh wow, look at the huge problem with this model. We got to come up with dark energy. These should be red flags for people who are saying these guys are lying again. They want to control our mind and steal from us.
On that score, I'm a little bit less extremist. I don't want to call you extremist, but you know what I mean. Because if you don't believe in a creator, then you can come up with rational explanations that you believe to be rational for things that you see. Who was it that came up with the Big Bang? Is Lemaitre or something?
Yeah, George. I think he was a Belgian Jesuit priest, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Yeah. And like the evolutionary idea before him, he wasn't immediately greeted with opposition from the church or anyone, or Christians. They didn't immediately oppose the concepts. And I think that was a good stance, a good way of dealing with it, and it's the way I deal with it.
Yeah, that's
the way it should be dealt with in my mind.
It's understandable. One thing I would consider though is because I'm not a Hebrew, so I can understand why some people don't want to align with the Hebrew ideas and then just say, okay, these guys were wrong. Because of, I understand why people say the Hebrews got it wrong because of evidence. But I can also see why the Romans didn't want to align with the Hebrew teachings and the other ancient cultures, because when the Bible was being printed, they couldn't stop it any longer, so they had to basically undermine it by making it sound completely different.
It's still preserved, so as far as
yeah, thankfully, absolutely. That's the great thing about it.
But the scene, I think, gets.
Yeah, that's Roohif's license plate.
My esteem, I know, doesn't care, and nor should he. But
I want to now.
Roohif, do you want to show it? He showed it last night.
Let's see it.
You can show it. I'm about to go into school.
His license plate is WGS84.
Oh, there you go. It wasn't out of time.
It's like WGS084, I think, right? He posted it. If you look up his name, it's probably still in the chat. Sorry, just random thing there, but yeah, that's Roohif's license plate. My esteem, I know, doesn't care, and nor should he, but my esteem for Roohif just went up a couple of not just. But can you imagine?
Where are we?
Nobody knows what WGS84 is. So normies don't know what that is.
Well, no, most people don't. But if I drove down the road and saw it, I would think it was a coincidence or it was purposeful. But if it's purposeful, you wouldn't think they'd be a flat Earth enthusiast. Either way.
You see it?
It's.
Yep. Oh, this is your Tesla knockoff.
What you got?
I now know everything
Yeah,
about
that's
your
not-
life after
Yeah.
a quick
BYD.
search.
All right, I'm going into school.
Roohif will tell you everything. He'll give you his address, bank account numbers, social security. No, I'm just joking. No, he tells his name and stuff. I don't think he cares if people know about that.
I was just kind of surprised when you called him a flat earther.
Flat Earth enthusiast.
Yes,
Get it right.
sure. Enthusiast.
I said flat Earth connoisseur and flat Earth enthusiast. Those were the two phrases. Well, I mean, I'm just saying for real. Let's say I saw a guy with that license plate, and I said to him, "Oh, you know," and let's say I talked to him for a minute, and he said, "I said, oh, you know, is that on purpose? WGS 84? You know what? You know what that is?" And if he said, "Yeah, it is," and then if he were then to say how much experience he has in the flat Earth, I would be like, "Really?" Because the WGS 84 has nothing to do with the flat Earth directly. So it would just be surprising that somebody that's like repping that also has that much experience within the flat Earth world. Like that's kind of where his cosmological focus is, even though he's repping the WGS 84.
What's his? What fake Tesla are you driving?
Yeah, that's also a joke. I don't know if I should have called. Well, I don't know if it's even. Well, it's called the the BYD. That it's like a Chinese company. They're not even really Tesla knockoffs. They might be. People say they're really good. They're like maybe as good as Tesla. So they're not necessarily knockoff, but there's like a Chinese company that's like a Tesla-like company. Yeah, that makes those cars.
Yeah.
They've got an 800-mile range EV sedan, like $40,000 in China. They got a ton of good shit out there.
I mean, are they known? Are they? Well, they're maybe not better than Teslas in some way, but are they known to be better in some ways than Teslas? And maybe
They had a hybrid. I saw a hybrid review. It's like 1,010 horsepower for $57,000 base model. It's like a Porsche hybrid, not knockoff, but equivalent, but half the price.
What some insider experts are saying is that the main car manufacturers that we are quite familiar with, Ford and the rest of them, are all going to go bankrupt, and the only car companies that are going to survive are one, Tesla, and two, whatever Chinese brand that happens to rise to the top, and it may be BYD, maybe what's the other one? Oh gosh, I can't remember the name of it. There's another Chinese company, NIO, NIO, NIO. So it's those two. And if you look,
what's that before or after the last 9 weeks of Tesla stock?
That's going to be after people move on to the next thing that they're enraged about and picketing about and rioting about. I give it a couple of weeks.
So are you saying that the major car companies like General Motors, Toyota, Honda, and different companies are going to fall beneath Tesla and, would you say, the Chinese company?
Whatever Chinese company floats to the top, yes. Be it BYD or one of the other companies that we don't know about. Or
In the United States.
If they start tanking, you think that during Carter, yeah.
Sounds so crazy that you guys, the flat earthers as well. That sounds crazy to me. I believe it, but it's still crazy.
Well, I have a family member with a Tesla Model 3 who just bought a Model Y, and I think it's not the new one, but it's not the new one, not the new updated one.
Well, damn, he got the money if it's a Model Y.
I mean, it's
like those. How much
the
are those?
average price of cars now? It was like 51 or something.
Oh, I thought those were like over 100K.
That's the Model X. The Model X,
Okay,
yes.
my
So
bad.
the Model X and S, they have the Model X has the Falcon Wing doors.
Yeah, that's what I think.
That's my aspirational vehicle. That's what I really, really want. If I could have any car, if you say pick one car that you could drive, that's what I pick. Because it's got the most amount of utility because it's SUV.
Oh, dude, I have to go for something exotic.
Yeah.
I mean, hell,
It's
Ferrari
for-
makes SUVs now.
Yeah. What's the name?
But that might be faster.
I don't know.
It probably is. It probably is in all reality.
You get a Model S Plaid, ain't nothing faster.
Dude, I remember back in like whenever they first came out with like the dual motor P80s, I think they're P80s, PD80s. Do what?
The P85.
Yeah, those. I remember when those came out, those were smoking Ferraris, dude, for like 80 grand.
Yeah, ridiculous. And what's his face? Lucid Air. Lucid have come out with one that's 0 to 60 in 0. Hold on, it was 1.89 seconds.
Is this the one that has the
snappy neck?
Yeah. Is this the one that has the fans that basically suctions it to the ground?
Oh.
Is that the one you're talking about? I think I'm talking about something different.
Lucid Air, it's the American company. The car's stupid expensive.
Is it a center cockpit, like single driver?
No, it's a normal sort of sedan.
Oh. 1.9?
Yeah, 1.89.
Oh.
Yeah, that's just ridiculous. But who wouldn't want the ability to do that? You're like Musk with his Cybertruck. I mean, do you want your truck bulletproof or don't you? Of course you do. Silly question.
I did actually see a video of somebody shoot at it, and it would take 9 mils. It would take at most handgun rounds.
That guy, yeah, I saw that. Let me see.
Yeah, he was actually, I'm not sure if you were looking at the same video, but he bought or rented, whatever, and he was opening up the driver's side door and shooting different caliber munitions through the door. And some of them were just denting the door with a higher caliber, like a 50 cal. It goes straight through it. It's not bulletproof. There's no
that was a
such
rental.
Right.
whatever it was. They were out in the desert.
Yeah,
and they did
so
all
like
sorts of different types of ballistic types of tests.
Yeah.
For different things. Like, how many jugs of water can a 9mm go through?
There you go. Yeah, I like that guy.
Yeah, it's the same concept. And they tested it, and it's not bulletproof. There's no such thing as bulletproof.
Right. I like those guys. I'm gun curious, so I like those channels that shoot things. There's something animalistic and male about that, isn't there?
And they could be a good investment too.
Yeah, although Tulsi's pretty good with a gun. Have you seen her? She's pretty handy with a weapon.
Yeah, she does carry, doesn't she?
Yeah, just saying. What
was it?
Then again, I think that a lot of people would say, yes, men should be tough.
If they're going to fix that in the U.S., man, with laws.
Difficult to say, right? But I don't think people realize just how far along Tesla is compared to everybody else. Yeah.
Seconds or something?
Right. Yeah, you don't have to do that anymore.
I thought they just had to have someone sitting in the driver's seat.
For the legal, that's a good question. I'm not sure.
Probably. That's what I thought. I heard a while back.
No, I saw some
in
videos.
The event that, like an emergency brake or something had to be applied.
Oh, they got a lot of stuff, dude. I saw a video of a breakdown of it not long ago.
Oh, we're still decades away from this. Many decades.
Decades?
Oh, yeah. Well, have you ever seen a self-driving car?
Yes.
I have.
Person.
Yep. I saw one.
Would you ever get in one?
It was a Waymo. It was a Jaguar. Would I get in one? I would get a Waymo. No, I wouldn't.
Right. We're decades away.
Well, I mean, I would if I could take over if I could watch it, monitor it, and take over control. I wouldn't just, like, if it was steering wheel-less, probably not.
Well, no, it has to be a steering wheel because it has to be able to be taken over by a human in the event of, there's a child that suddenly ran out in the middle of the street and the car didn't recognize it, so the person had to have their foot just pressed on the brake pedal instantly. Or, there's a construction site coming up, or all of a sudden it made a wrong turn, it's driving into a park all of a sudden. Whoops.
I know, right? You would think so, but I saw something like a couple weeks ago, and it was a guy in a car without a steering wheel, and it was doing circles in like a parking lot, and it wouldn't stop. And he had to call like the rep. To,
no, it was a Waymo. It did have a steering wheel.
Oh, did he just couldn't control it?
Yep, it was a Jag. It was a Waymo. So on Jaguar I-Paces.
I don't know. I don't think this one has a steering wheel, man.
But he couldn't control it. It was going around circles.
Yeah, he had to call tech support.
Yeah, without throwing up.
So what happens if you call tech support? Like, hey, my car is just going around in circles. What do they do?
They couldn't help it. They said they couldn't help him, and it would fix itself eventually.
Oh, did that? So what happened? Gosh.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, what if there was a solution in regards to that happening? Hopefully, I'm never in that situation. But if it did happen, you call tech support and you say, my car's going in circles. What can I do? And they say, don't worry, sir. We're going to go ahead and shut your car down for you. And then it just shuts down remotely. Now, that would be fucking scary. That means there's an internet link to it. Yep, no thanks.
Well, if it's full self-driving,
well, that's gotta already be the case with Teslas, right? They can shut them off remotely, right? The Tesla.
Yeah, I think so. That was like the OnStar kind of situation with theft protection situation.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they can snip your Tesla remotely. It all goes through the computer. It's all hooked up to the Wi-Fi. It's not just like a regular combustion engine. So, I mean, to what level they admit to that, or to what level I'm more conspiratorial, but it's like getting into a Tesla is like turning on a computer. It's not the same as getting in like a combustion engine car. Although some of the combustion engine cars have a lot of computerization, but staying with the Tesla, it's like the whole thing is run through a computer.
Yeah, but when it comes to the OnStar and the Teslas and self-driving cars wouldn't work at all unless they had some sort of a Wi-Fi transmitter and receiver. The entire thing wouldn't work.
Yeah, exactly. Over the air updates. You come to your car and it's updated stuff.
So you were right, Cloud. It was a Waymo car, but dude was like strapped in the back seat.
Yep.
My bad.
You are having a crash. Congratulations, you are being rescued. Oh, that was from, what was that from? That was from Star Wars. K2S. What his name is.
So you guys are just gonna get more of that control with the globe thing. You know, the more you stick for the globe idea, the more control and limitation comes to our lives. That's what so surprised me. A lot of folks like defend the globe don't seem to get that.
Oh yeah, they're gonna be driving the Tesla X1M on Mars.
Do you know? I think people do know this, but I'm not sure. That's what I'll ask. Does anybody know why the cars are called the X and the 3? Does anyone know what on the rest of them? Does anyone know why? It's really stupid. So the Model S, and then you have the Model X, and then you have the Model 3, and you have the Model Y, and it spells. And then you have the Cybertruck, the ATV, the Roadster, and the semi-truck, and all of those spell sexy cars, and that's why they're all named like that. Because Musk is a troll.
That's your leader in space travel.
Sexy cars. It's the two most powerful people we have in government right now are trolls. Come on, now, that's not. I mean, that is kind of funny, though, right?
Yeah,
if not just to watch the lefties flip out.
Well, he named a space company SpaceX as well. So you got that. Could he be part of a sex magic cult? Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe along with other rocket nuts like Jack Parsons, Werner von Braun. It's a long lineage of psychopaths in the rocket world.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. I really don't get the argument about Werner von Braun, now, because just in a sense, like if you're in a country, like you're not the government. right? Like, I don't know if anybody's read any of his personal writings and can back it up in that regard, but just to paint him as a Nazi because he lived in the country and he was working for the government at the time, I don't think that's fair. You have to take something from his personal life or his personal writing to say like he's a Nazi or he's something like that. Like I said, I'm not aware of any personal writings that paint him in that light. Maybe somebody else is.
He was also possibly under pressure to either be productive or be killed.
Oh,
He was a
absolutely.
member of the Nazi Party.
Well, yeah, but they went radical full quick, dude. Like, I mean, you can see, like, a lot of people's politics have changed in like a 4-year time span. The party can get nutty quick, dude. And then, like, and at that point, he's strapped in. Like, they're killing. I mean, like I said, pressure to work. I mean, you've seen them, you know, about mass killings or whatever the rumors are going around. Like I said, if somebody had personal writings from him, I could see that.
Something I've always thought was really fucked up is how people continue to bring up the German Nationalist Socialist Party, the Nazis, and they neglect to mention anything else. Even though World War II was a very significant part of history, however, there are different periods of time before and after that where many other people were systematically exterminated. World War II was just a piece of the puzzle, such as Khmer, I mispronounce it, the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia.
Khmer Rouge.
Yeah, I think if I'm pronouncing it correctly. And then during World War II, there was the Russian extermination, and then in China, which is even worse than that.
Oh, it was way worse.
Everyone just keeps going back to the whole, the Nazis, the Nazis. By the way, I do pronounce it correctly. There's no T in the word. Not Nazi, there's no T in the word. The Nazis, which they never even used in their.
Yeah, sort of like NASA.
Correct.
Similar.
Well, it's also like when someone orders a pizza, there's no T in the word. Sorry, I'm a little bit of
Pizza?
a.
Yeah, you guys say pizza?
Yeah, it's pizza. Yeah, ask someone
Pizza.
who speaks Italian.
Yeah, but I think in our Ameritard language,
Correct.
It's been all twisted up.
So when it comes to these German National Socialists, a lot of people just want to go back to that and use it as a scapegoat. But is that really the right avenue to go down? I don't think so.
How is it used as a scapegoat?
Do you know what a scapegoat is, first of all?
I know what it literally means. Yes.
No, not you.
Okay.
That was left lane.
Sorry.
What was the question?
A scapegoat. Like a whipping boy. No?
I mean, I don't hear anybody making excuses or. I mean, it gets talked about. I wouldn't say that it's used as a scapegoat.
The scapegoat is the excuse. It's like it's a distraction.
Excuse for what, though? Excuse for what?
It's a distraction. Oh my goodness! All right.
Yeah, I don't see anybody trying to distract from anything. We could talk about other things too, but I mean, it just gets talked about a lot, not necessarily used as a scapegoat, though.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so, damn. If I'm going to start to talk about something, and then I want to distract from that topic, then I can bring up something that's completely abstract, such as the German Nationalist Party. You can call Donald Trump, a German nationalist or a Nazi or something like that. That's him being used as a scapegoat to distract from the point that's actually being had in the conversation. It's a red herring.
Red herring, that's the word. Red herring is the term you want, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, scapegoat is a philosophical, logical type of way to explain it.
Technically, a scapegoat is a different thing.
Well, it's kind of the same thing. It's just a different way to explain it.
Yeah.
So when people say, like, Andrew, you're a Nazi, you're a blah, 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 I don't even give a shit. If people keep saying that towards me, and they don't, I'm going to say, okay, where's your evidence and all that kind of stuff. But that's not what's happening to me. It's happening to other people that exist right now in different political groups. And it gets exhausting just hearing the same bullshit happening over and over. So when it happens too much, people tend to just sway away from it, or they'll just move along with the wave. And things like
It's almost too much. I do think there's something in like physical photography. Like I love like my if I go to my aunt's every year for Christmas, and I just sometimes like we'll pull out like old shoebox right of old photos of my dad, and there's just something so different about that than tapping on a screen.
Yeah, we've lost something, haven't we, in some respects?
Well, there's a bit of a revival going on right now. Like, I think if they had like just a Polaroid camera that was common, I don't know, like I would think that would be pretty fucking popular. Like, I'm kind of amazed that isn't a thing still. I have a bunch of Polaroids from high school. I used to have a Polaroid camera, right? You guys shake the thing like that. I still have those.
Yeah.
And they look
Yeah,
good too.
Yeah.
Or like you go drop off like you get like a what was it? They used to be like a 24 pick or something, like little $5 camera from CVS or whatever. Like you go to a party or whatever, shoot the roll, drop it off, go back, pick it up.
Yeah, no way to see what they look like until you did that.
yeah, that's old school shit.
Yeah, dude,
That's like 20 years ago.
I know, but that's like a fun memory, dude. Like I don't know. There's just like I said, there's just something about it being physical. It's so
Yeah,
different.
it is. It is different. And you can still buy cameras that can do that, like the Polaroid type cameras where you take the picture and they're quite expensive, but it'll actually print out the entire thing as you're doing it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I got a bunch of those still. I used to have a purple one, and they weren't super expensive when I was in high school. I graduated in 04.
Okay.
And they were cheap back then. I'm like middle class family, like they'd be no problem buying them.
Well, in regards to cameras, I guess this is like switching the subject a little tiny bit. I like cameras a lot. I have some cameras. I'm not an expert by any means at all. But Nikon has just come out with the P1100. I'm planning on buying one. I don't know any. They're still very, very new, so I'm waiting for a lot more information on it before I decide to drop $1,000+ on one. Has anyone actually used one yet?
Nope, didn't know that came out. That's cool.
Yeah, they came out with like the P series, whatever that stands for.
Right.
Like I have a P900, and then I guess they came out with P950, P1000, and then after that I stopped paying attention. And then I was looking it up online. Oh, is Nikon coming out with another P series camera? And about 6 months ago, roughly, I looked it up and oh yeah, we're coming out with one. And I guess it just came out. And people have been talking about it. It's just another super zoom camera.
Yeah, I don't know where the gains would be coming from something like this. My understanding is like in forms of camera tech, like for the past like 15 years or maybe 20 years, we've like somewhat stalled out, and the shift has been towards like processing of the image. Right, so it's all about how you process the image. Apple's got a bunch of shit they do whenever you take a photo. It takes a bunch of layers and stacks them together. And it's been all about the processing for the past 15 years. So, like, I would really be curious between the difference between like a P900 and a P. Do you know the difference between a P900 and a P1000? It's not much, is it?
Yeah, it's a bump in zoom, and also the P1000 can shoot RAW, whereas the P900 cannot.
Okay, so the glass essentially, it's got a better glass piece.
It's got a longer focal length. I don't know if that equates to better.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, as far as I know, I have a couple of friends that I went out to the beach in Santa Cruz with, and we were doing a long distance observation test with. They both had P1000s, I had a P900, and they had to buy like these specialized tripods because it's like 1.5 times the weight of a P900.
Yeah, it's a much more substantial camera.
Yeah, and the lens of it, as you extend it outward, it goes about an extra 3 or 4 inches roughly.
Yeah.
So I think it has like 1 or 2 extra lenses in it or something. I don't know exactly how it works. But the P1100, I don't know. It's a good question. I'll have to look into it. I do love looking into optics and learning about it, but I cannot speak on it because I'm not an expert by any stretch of imagination when it comes to that. But I know a little bit about this stuff.
So what Apple does is Apple calls it computational photography, where it takes multiple images and stacks them.
Yeah, exactly. That's been the shift.
And that is what I'm waiting for is a camera that can do both. The problem with an Apple camera, if you will, is it has a very tiny sensor and a tiny lens. And what I'm interested in is I'm interested in a camera that has a full-size lens and computational photography as well. But Apple is not taking the bait as far as producing such a camera, which is disappointing, but oh well.
Could you get a full-size lens on a smartphone, like you're talking about? I don't really know. I don't know much about cameras.
No, you can have adapters that add lenses onto the current lens, but you can't do anything more than that. Which means you're still using the lens on the phone, but you're adding lenses on top of that, which isn't ideal. So, but for them, I don't think they think there's much money in professional photography. That's what Apple's sort of view is, unfortunately. Which is why they haven't produced Adobe Lightroom competitor, and they don't even have a professional camera emoji. If you look for professional camera emoji, you won't find it. So that's how much they care about professional photography. That's unfortunate.
That's kind of odd because they've usually been focused on that's what kind of made them a little bit bigger is they focused on the arts. Like they used to get or you still get like GarageBand. I don't know if you used GarageBand, but
I've used that. Yeah.
Excellent.
It is brilliant, isn't it? I used it the other day.
Yeah, and on the iPad, it's magnificent as well too.
Yeah. I never use it on the iPad. That might be interesting.
Oh, it's totally different. They have something called Apple Loops.
Right,
Which
yeah.
do they have that in the current version
Yeah.
of GarageBand?
I think
Okay.
so, yes. Yeah.
Okay, last time I used it, they hadn't merged it, which was a
Really?
while ago.
I'd have to look for the loops. I use it for editing tracks. I don't use it for recording as such. Or producing original music. I use it for taking tracks and editing them.
Oh yeah, it'll do anything. What I used it for, I was playing around. I was playing around for about a year, like just making music on it with a lot of the Apple loops, and then you can go in there and you can edit the timing and you can edit the keys. So
Yeah.
if you can kind of get like as somebody who's not super artistic and doesn't know a whole lot about music, you can go in there and you can get a sound you want and you can tweak it and make it original and use it for whatever. It was pretty wild to me as somebody who knows nothing about music that I could take that application and make a song and it sound decent. It blew my fucking mind.
Which one are you using?
Just GarageBand for iPad, man. Just like the
Sick.
standard one.
That's sick.
And the Apple loops in it specifically.
I think you have to download those separately, though, right?
It comes with a few packs, and then you can download extras.
Right.
But it comes with a bunch.
Well, you want any audio mixing techniques, man? Feel free to reach out. I've been mixing and mastering for like over a decade.
Brilliant.
Oh yeah, dope. Yeah, it's
Dude.
something I hadn't been into in a minute, but it was really interesting when I was into it.
It's addictive.
Yeah. I'll jump back into it from time to time.
I used GarageBand several years ago. I took some electronica tracks and I added my own voice. You know how you have these electronica tracks and they have some speaking in the background or someone saying something, and so I thought it would be interesting to do that, and I found in GarageBand that you can use an octaver and other voice effects to make your voice sound different. And so I recorded a bunch of things, and I did some lines from some movies like The Matrix and Lord of the Rings, and made these little characters say different things on the track. It was kind of cool.
That is sick. I've been doing a bunch of experimenting with vocals as well.
There's a couple of AI ones that are pretty decent right now that are free. If you got a somewhat modern computer, they're totally something different than what you're talking about, Red Cloud. I'm not trying to poo-poo what you're talking about or anything. I'm just saying, like if you go from like that GarageBand to like an AI voice, it's wild. There is a little bit of lag time, but you can get it down to like maybe like a 1/10 of a second or so.
Yeah.
But you have to have a modern computer.
Right.
I'm running Thunderbolt 3 through a sound card from UA Audio, and it's like I get zero latency on stuff like that. I'd love to try that.
Oh yeah. Let me see if I can find it. Maybe if I can find it real quick, the thing I was using, I'll post it.
Yeah, I haven't really dabbled in any of the AI tools. I watched some videos on it and stuff because YouTube thinks I like shopping for VSTs and spending thousands of dollars, but I just want to find some good ones.
I'll dig it up for you. Hold up just a second. I'll dig it up.
I've been using this really simple tone editor program that's built into FL Studio. So I can record myself. Like, if you've heard those videos, those hilarious videos where it's like what someone really sounds like without autotune. And it's just like, I've been walking every day. You know, it just sounds
Yes,
funny.
I've seen those. Yeah.
Yeah. I can literally record myself like hitting the melody kind of close. And then I can just fully edit it. And I sound like fucking Justin Bieber. Like, it's so crazy.
Yeah.
And, you know, and this is a totally different topic, but once you see these tools they can use to make music so pristine, you can see you can really see how fictitious most of the mainstream artists are. It's really wild.
Absolutely. Yeah, unless I see it recorded in the studio and I hear the voice straight from the desk, I don't accept it as real.
Yep.
I've been in a few recordings, and I've heard real people sing, and real instruments being recorded. It's eye-opening in some respects. I play bass, so there was one of the recordings they were doing, and they had a digital bass, and it didn't really sound great, And I sort of just quipped, I was like, "Hey, I play bass," and the dude, who's super cool dude, and he goes, "Oh, really? We could use a bass right here." And I was like, "Okay." He says, "You got it with you?" I said, "No, I haven't got my bass with me." They said, "How far do you live?" I was like, "Oh, you want me to go get it?" He says, "Yeah." So I drove home and got my bass guitar, came back. Took about 2 hours, 3 hours to do that in total. Came back and laid down a track for him on the track. I don't know if it's been if it's gone out to public or whatever, but that was kind of cool. It's like I'm on this track now. It's just completely out of the blue. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and a lot of bedroom producers would love to have a live bass player. Like even if you're like just average. Like I'm assuming you're probably a little better than average, eh? But
yeah.
Ivermectin and fenbendazole, those definitely are anti-parasitic things. Like
tools they can use to make music so pristine, you can see you can really see how fictitious most of the mainstream artists are.
Rice test, right? Someone had they had 2 sets of rice out, and one they would bully, and one they.
It's Canadian, so they say that. So
talk about a conspiracy. My God,
it's bad. I'm hoping A's bet expose this shit because I think a lot of people are at a point where it's like, why are we still letting this shit go on? Like you look at the Wake Up America tour, all the doctors that lost their license during COVID, they've all come together. Most of them got their license back, and they're gonna be some sort of return, I think.
Wait, Gio, you said you think cancer is caused by parasites?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
why
cancer.
that's why fenbendazole and ivermectin resolve cancer for many people. Completely 100% cure it, and those are essentially canine. Well, fenbendazole is a canine dewormer. These are very powerful antiparasitics.
Well, it may not be that it's actually that is what's curing the cancer.
No,
it could be
is.
an
Even
offshoot.
oh, sorry. Well, even what's that guy who did he did the Passion of the Christ with that actor's name?
Mel Gibson.
Yeah, was he was on Rogan saying that he had like 2 people he knew that had stage 4 cancer, completely cured them with fenbendazole and ivermectin. It's so common. There's so many situations in which that's the case. So I mean, if you're killing a parasite and then the cancer completely goes away, indicates that parasites dump cancer into your body, and that's why it spreads, and that's why you go into remission. It's the cancer being a factory dumping toxins and what they call cancer. So you get rid of the parasite and the cancer goes away. Your body can fight off the rest of the toxins. Gets right to the root of it.
Yeah, Dr. Lee Merritt, if you want to go look at some papers that have been published around that. It's
but
not
I'm talking about like
theory.
genetically modified freak parasites. I'm not just talking about like some regular old like some of the like intestinal ones. I'm not talking about like Giardia or something like an intestinal one.
Yep, I think
all I'm saying about the link between the drug and what it is purported to cure and why it cures it, it's difficult to make that without really knowing a lot about it. There's a drug called Wellbutrin, and it's made for ADHD, but it helps people stop smoking. So it is a drug meant for one thing, and it does another.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of anecdotal stuff about the parasitic stuff, but I mean, is there any scientific research backing that? Any mechanism that how that happens?
Yeah, I went and researched Dr. Lee Merritt. She was somebody I found that was really looking at this topic who has the credentials to do so. She's got a lot of great info. She's found like papers published from like other countries in the past that have been basically deleted that proved there's a connection to parasites and cancer, and she's gone even deeper because it's like Geo said, these parasites are basically sending instructions to groups of cells, and it's the underlying cause of the out of control cellular reproduction. That's really all cancer is. It's out of control cellular reproduction.
Yeah, it's the regulatory genes that tell your cells, okay, let's quit growing. Like you grow and you stop growing, right? But the regulatory genes get messed up, and the cells start reproducing and out of control, and they grow to the point that they inhibit function of whatever organ they're in, and it kills you. But I mean, I would refer to some of these cancers are known to have genetic markers that predispose people to cancer, that they can like check the children and see, if they have those genetic markers, that they would be high risk. Studies like that, and I don't know if I would associate that with a parasite or not.
Well, Geo was kind of saying it earlier. There's these upgraded parasites, like literally, it looks like they're genetically modified. So, the idea that we're going to get any disclosure down that route, and if you look into some of the doctors that are really trying to uncover it, I think most of them have realized it's going to be, they need to wait for someone like RFK, to create a system where you can even ask the right questions. But there's a lot of data on it, like the turbo cancer, like people suddenly getting these like insane versions of cancer we've never seen. That's tied to these parasites through Dr. Lee Merritt's work. So I think it's definitely something to pay attention to, I think.
Have you ever heard any of the parasites named?
No.
So that's what I'd be curious in looking into. If they're saying it's parasites,
So
be able to name some.
Okay, so it's sort of, this is a very complex thing. I don't know if we're going to go kind of deeper into it, but I would say a few things. So like, first of all, it's like, what is the truth? Like what is the truth? And getting to the truth, of course, is, there's many factors to that. Like you can get to it through, perhaps certain scientific testing, like biological materials, microscopes, etc. You can do that route to a certain degree. But there's also, like, I think there's other ways of knowing, which you don't have to get entirely into that as well, but like there's other ways of getting to truth as well. But just in terms of like what the actual truth is with this. So if there are parasite materials of some sort that are being genetically engineered, and these genetically engineered are not going to be listed in your textbooks. You're not just going to be able to go and be like, oh yeah, it's Giardia, for example. I know like Giardia is one type of parasite that's a very well-known intestinal parasite. They can test for it. It's in the books. It's known about, and if you get it, you can, there are tests for it. They know what it causes, how long it lasts, etc. Mostly like vomiting and diarrhea and symptoms like that. So something like that they know about. But what I'm referring to, if they're designing certain parasitic type materials, that are going to go into the body and lodge in there, and then in a kind of clandestine fashion, dump toxins or what they call cancer into the body, to where you then need to go and get chemotherapy or whatever it may be. So if that's the case, like those sort of like genetically designed or engineered parasites are not going to just be in any book. Like that would be hidden from the population and even from the medical industry. So if they're able to make these things or engineer these things, or if they have these things to then put them in the environment, specifically, they would not have that be something that people are detecting in that way. And so if that's the case, then unless we have a way to physically test for it, they have that, like in terms of it being a conspiracy on that level, like there are some entities that have designed these things and put them in the environment, purposefully not telling us what they are, then that would be the thing, is like, can we physically detect them, and then how to know, how to get to the root of the truth of it. Because if
But
that's the case, then like we sort of like with genetics, like certain things we don't have the actual equipment to even test for it.
Great point. They actually
Well,
said,
wait. But the thing is, you made a very factual, positive statement about it, and but you're saying if, and what if they're doing this, and if they've not been detected, how do we know this is a fact?
Well, that's what I was saying. There's different ways of knowing, and I'm also not look, I'm not trying to convince you of it, so it's not like I'm not trying to like compel you into it, therefore saying, hey, I have all this evidence for it, in that way. But what I do know is that like many people have taken fenbendazole or ivermectin, which are like, very powerful anti-dewormer and anti-parasitic chemicals, which are compounds, which, can get rid of all kinds of different parasites, dewormers and so on. I know that. I also know that people have cured cancer with ayahuasca many times. And ayahuasca, there can be purging that happens, like vomiting or diarrhea, and that's not because of the plant making you sick. It's actually the plant detoxing your body. And many people have. Like ayahuasca is one of the most powerful anti-parasitic plants in all of this entire realm. I mean, it just destroys parasites, absolutely annihilates them. Some of the most difficult ones to get rid of, too. Just the most resilient, brutal, I think genetically modified and genetically altered ones, they're extremely difficult to get rid of. Because with ayahuasca, people can have these purges and their autoimmune disease is gone, their cancer is gone, many illnesses and diseases completely gone, completely cleared up. So, and when people have these purges, they often get the insight, while they're releasing, as it were, that, oh, there's a parasite, or I'm getting rid of a wicked parasite right now, kind of thing. And then the cancer is gone as well. And then all the reports with ivermectin and fenbendazole as well. So, I mean, those are some. Now, I know someone could say those are anecdotal and so on, but yeah, those are like, I guess 3 compounds if you add fenbendazole, ivermectin, which I'm not really a fan. Those are like, not necessarily natural. But like, what is the effect of ayahuasca, that's clearing up cancer? Because there's many people that have had like stage 4 or more cancer and come back completely gone. So, yeah, so those are some relations to it.
To speak to what G was talking about there, the thing that's changing, and I think everyone, even if you're not into conspiracies, I think what everyone will be happy about is that you can feel there's a change going on. Where, I mean, if you remember what Joe Rogan, when he talked to Mel Gibson about it, he was mocked really heavily. Oh, Joe Rogan's taking dewormers and all this sort of stuff. But you've got people like Kennedy coming along, and what it's doing is it's reducing the volume of the people who are doing the mocking. And so the people who are scoffing and mocking and saying, oh, that's ridiculous, that reduction in the volume of those people shouting that type of thing is going to open up people to be more brave and to look at things that people now consider crazy conspiracies. And they'll say, okay, maybe there's something to this. And that will be doctors now coming out of lockdown and all the rest of that crap that they were put through. And now they're more emboldened, and they're going to say, I'm going to look at this anyway, even if you think I'm a quack and you want to take my medical license away. That's what's changing. And they could find some incredible stuff going on, and stuff like what you were just talking about, Gio, could go mainstream and people could more hear about it. Right now, the mainstream media is suppressing all of that information. And what they're doing is they're just simply not reporting on it. They pretend it doesn't exist.
Yeah, like, I'm not saying I'm a huge fan of like ivermectin and fenbendazole, because they are not necessarily, well, they are somewhat from nature, but the fact that they're somewhat, they're not like, it's not like a direct plant or something in that way. So there's some processing involved and all of that. But I mean, dude, the thing is, like, getting rid of cancer is like, it's like incredibly difficult. People die obviously all the time and whatnot. Like, I do think cancer is a real thing. Like, I'm not saying that's fake or something.
Yeah,
like, you can just like die in your house if you have it. Like, yeah, it'll take your body over. And if you don't have all the right foods and things to fight it or whatever, it can kill you. So, it is like very real in that sense. And the fact that there are so many cases of either with fenbendazole or ivermectin that just the cancer is just gone. It's just completely gone. And they were like stage 4. And those are like dewormer, anti-parasitic compounds. And then, like I said, with ayahuasca is known for being very anti-parasitic as well and cleansing out parasites. So, I mean, in terms of the action of like how ayahuasca, because there's so many people too that have had like, near-death cancer. They end up there like, hey, I'm going to go to South America. I'm going to drink ayahuasca for a month, every other night or whatever, drink it 15 times in a month every other night. They come back to the States or whatever, cancer is completely gone. They go to the doctor. It's absolutely cleared of all cancer. The doctor writes, there's even stories that the doctor will write on the clipboard, jungle plant, question mark. Like that's meaning that the patient told him, hey, I went and drank this ayahuasca thing. The doctor doesn't even really know what it is. So he just writes on the thing, well, cancer's gone. The patient says he drank some, jungle brew and that's it. And then that, it goes on with no further cancer. So there's so many cases of that. So, I mean, what is the mechanism of action? Like, is the plant going up and, in the theory of cancer that it's like this out of control replication of cells? Is the ayahuasca, approaching that? Or is it getting to the root in terms of the parasitic aspect? And if there's that overlap with fenbendazole and ivermectin, because ivermectin and fenbendazole, those definitely are anti-parasitic things. Like, whereas ayahuasca does have other things in it, like ayahuasca is like neurogenic, it helps regrow neurons in the brain. There's all these other things it has as well. So I mean, there could be an argument that ayahuasca is doing something else to clean up, the cancer. But again, there's that link to the parasitic. And like I said, when people like on ayahuasca, when they purge a parasite, it's like the intelligence of the plant is like informing them, like you're purging a parasite right now. You've had a parasite for 10 years and it's releasing right now. Here we go, buddy. Like that's kind of how it is. Like the ayahuasca spirit, like literally it's like, all right, are we ready? And 3, 2, 1, boom. And then you purge. And it's not like purging on like being drunk on alcohol or something. It's actually like a release. It feels very like cathartic. So anyways, but it's like the ayahuasca kind of informs you like what it's doing, like what it's getting rid of as well. So it's interesting.
Absolutely. A lot of these plants and herbs actually have something that contribute to what I believe is called cell necrosis.
Definitely confirm that it looks parasitic.
Hold on, Schlitzy, can you hear Eden? He was talking.
It's okay.
No,
Wait, go ahead, Schlitzy. It's okay.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Eden. I wanted finish what you're saying.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so just hold that thought for a quick moment. So see, so essentially, from my understanding, a lot of these herbs actually have something that contribute what I've heard as chemical affinity, which translates into a lot of the cell membranes of these parasites to actually break. And like copper is similar to copper. What it'll cause a short circuit of the cell membrane of these parasites, where they just spill their guts all open, and the body will remove it. It's quite incredible. So, well, that's so true, Gio. But definitely, if anyone wants to question whether or not the government would ever infect the population or a population, all you have to do is go back to look at the Guatemala syphilis experiments of 1946 to 48, where they actually deliberately infected Guatemalan prisoners, soldiers, and psychiatric patients with sexually transmitted diseases without their consent.
Just to see what would happen.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. No, I think I back Geo, in that I think I'm hopeful. I'm really so hopeful that it's the stigma of these types of ideas will start to go away from the mainstream media type people who just listen to mainstream media. When that happens, I think it's going to be really cool, because what that will do is it will, like I said, it would embolden researchers and doctors who otherwise would get blacklisted and shunned and cancelled, to be able to pick up, do research that ordinarily they would be basically banned from doing. So
yeah,
that's
dude.
my hope.
People don't like the word conspiracy, but when you think about it, like one or more people conspiring, in some way, it's like if people don't think that's happening in the medical industry, then
Oh gosh,
I would just say you're not aware of what's happening, with all due respect. If someone had that position, I'm saying, because there's no question there's one or more people that are conspiring. Now, to what depth that is, to what level, like maybe I think it's more than someone else or someone else, what I'm saying? Like I understand there may be a contention of what some people think, to what degree that's occurring.
Right.
Like I'm talking about, like, essentially, demonically, genetically engineered parasitic materials that they're not telling us about that are, dumping cancer into people's bodies that they purposefully don't have, in their medical literature so that they basically can keep the person, because it's really so like, to go really dark for a second, I often call like big pharma, and I'll wrap it up here. I'm trying to be long-winded, but I often call it the controlled death matrix, because basically they're controlling our death. It's a controlled death matrix. Like, they're controlling the death of humans through this medical monster machine, and it's a slow death, and it's one that they have engineered so perfectly that they have people convinced, to take the certain treatments when they get certain ailments. They have the ailments planted in the environment through GMO foods and these different compounds. I mean, I think a lot of these, like flus, even the thing they call the coronaviruses, I don't think viruses are just what they tell us, but I think they're creating those as well. So they create flus, and flus are one of the biggest killers in the whole world. Like in hospitals, the flu or whatever, influenzas, are killing people all the time. So anyways, there's a way in which they're kind of they're not just trying to kill us all overnight, but it's like a controlled death matrix. I call it that because it's like they're controlling when we die and how we die, and then feasting off of us financially, and kind of drowning us, many people as well, in pharmaceutical and medical debt as well.
Yeah.
Link to that.
I was going to, again, sorry, Gio, I'm going to answer you again. Yeah, that's absolutely correct. The thing is about cancer is, the difficult thing about cancers is that it's not just the treatment, it's the detection. It's finding out that it's there in the first place. You'll find loads and loads of people, and they didn't know and suddenly they're dead. 3 weeks later. It's the detection. It's very, very difficult. Some of these cancers are very difficult to detect. I'm actually personally working with our company does work for the OCR, the Ovarian Cancer Institute. If you can look up OCI and look up the name Benedict Benigno, he's one of the chief research chaps. He's a genius. Guy is an absolute genius. They just found, it was actually last year, they just found a way of detecting ovarian cancer. The problem with ovarian cancer is it's very, very difficult to detect. And typically what happens is a woman will go in with symptoms, and by the time she's got symptoms, it's too late. So the key to OCI, the key to ovarian cancer, is early detection. Well, what they've done is they found a blood marker through like years and years and years of very expensive research. They found a blood marker, and what they can do now is they can give a woman basically what they. Gosh, you should have been there in the room when they announced this. It was absolutely amazing. They've got what amounts to a pap smear for ovarian cancer.
All right, could you help me understand? It's a lot. Could you? How does this link in? Like, in terms of, do you mean like?
I'm just talking about the
in
general. Yeah, in general, the general problem with cancer is detection, because I think a lot of it is we're just being poisoned. And then I'm just telling you the one thing that I do know about that is the OCI and those people working on trying to find the cures for stuff that's not like breast cancer or something like that, but something's a lot more deadly. That's ovarian cancer, which kills a lot of women because they can't detect it. So I just sort of let people. What I was saying really is that it's not just bad. There are good things happening. The problem is, or one of the biggest problems is no one's ever heard of OCI. No one will ever hear of that test that they can do now, because the mainstream won't even talk about it. So even when they do have successes, normies just don't hear about it. It's just unfortunate.
So let me know when I can speak.
Please
go
for it, dude.
Yeah. On my arm, I've got like two. They've said it's like skin cancer, but when I look at it, it does look parasitic. It's insane, and I've had that since 2020, trying naturally to get rid of it. I've ordered that fenbendazole, but each time it's like been taken. Like the post, I've ordered it online and arrived. I did ivermectin as well. Maybe I did that wrong because apparently you're meant to do a big dose of it.
Yeah, see those. I just the thing about either of those, ivermectin or fenbendazole, is that they may not kill all different types of parasites, and then they could have other types of side effects too. So yeah, it's like, will it actually target? I guess to me, like, nature is always wins, and there are plants like wormwood and things that are definitely have anti-parasitic effects, but basically like ayahuasca and then iboga, which is from Africa. It's a root bark. It's a root material. Those two are like the most anti-parasitic plants in terms of being able to assist. So yeah, like even doing, like, if somebody, well, anyways, yeah, I could go on those, but I'll just pass it there and just say that, like, if you use the right plants, I think the plants transcend any other kind of chemically concocted kind of material. That's just my viewpoint on it. Is that nature has what we need.
Absolutely. Even garlic, they say, is anti-parasitic.
That's true.
It destroys or helps
Yeah,
destroy
include with that.
Giardia, tapeworms, pinworms.
Is the treatment which I've been offered? Oh yeah, just cut it out. And before he even finished that sentence, he said, "You know, it's going to come back somewhere else."
Exactly. Gio, on the ayahuasca thing, man. So when you take it and it attacks the bad cells, or is it a mental thing that turns them off, or what's going on with that exactly, man?
You mean with like the cancer effects?
Yeah. If ayahuasca is maybe good for cancer, killing the cancer cells, or is it a mental thing and a like a physical thing that?
I think it's both. I'll
Is it
give you an
both?
example. Yeah, because have you guys heard of the people who are stuck in the ocean and they're told not to drink the water?
Right.
Well, I've heard counts of people who were they were in the boat and they're surviving, and one of the captains decided to drink the water, and because I believe there's parasites in the water, it went to his brain, and he literally went crazy, and he actually ended up jumping into the water. I listened to the women who survived. If it's a true story.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think drinking a lot of salt water, maybe, probably not a good idea. I think a little bit is fine, and it's probably not going to kill you.
Yeah. I guess it's just if there's parasites in that particular part.
Parasites can do some crazy things, man. Wow.
No, parasites definitely can have mental and physical components for sure. Like wild levels of that. Like even like addictions and stuff can be connected to like the parasite, like literally kind of controlling your brain to like want certain like sugar or different things, or like
Doritos.
alcohol, GMOs, Doritos. Yeah, there's a lot to all that part of, like, this is like the field of like parasitology, the study of parasites and all the different factors. But to answer what you're saying with ayahuasca, for example, yeah, like generally it seems to kind of address all of those aspects, like the emotional, physical, spiritual, seems to kind of be connected to all of those. Yeah, like in many ways. So like when people, like if they are cleansing or purging something, it's like they're often aware that, like, sort of like they're purging out their depression or purging out their anxiety, sort of like the mental, emotional, and physical all seem connected. And in terms of what it does with cancer, yeah, that's the question. It's like, what is cancer? Is it really the replication of cells the way they say? And then how does ayahuasca handle it if that's the case? And then if it's a parasite, then, how is the ayahuasca getting to the root of the parasite?
Well, I think the ayahuasca is getting the cells high and relaxing them and saying, "Hey, man, we should probably leave this guy alone, man. He's cool. Yeah, we should get the hell out of here." They just emerge into the other cells. I don't know, man. But they might this getting yourself that high with the ayahuasca. I've never done it, but I've heard the stories. It's a trip, man, and that could, it'd be interesting. I don't know, bro. You know way more than me, man. Thank you. I was just listening, man. Fascinating conversation, guys. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, definitely. Health is wealth.
If you talked, it sounded like Mitch Hedberg.
He did.
Yeah, there's even the factor like certain like diseases that are like, you know, depending on how one views it, like if you view like in terms of like the spirit world, and even like the idea that I'm just saying the spirit world in a very general sense, like is actually the background to the entire physical world. So if that's the case, like the spirit world would be is, you know, and then like could certain diseases actually like either be connected to like a demonic energy or be a demonic energy in some way? So then if you get that quote unquote disease, you're then kind of like taking in that energy in that way. And so perhaps partly with ayahuasca, for example, it does work energetically in that way too, because it seems to be able to kind of like put, you know, like transform or like, you know, purge out or kind of like almost like extract in a way those kind of energies too. So it's like, is that happening energetically? Like the ayahuasca just has the spirit and the intelligence
Right.
of it just has so much light to it that it just like is able to kind of yeah, in a certain sense, kind of like transform the darkness or like not allow that darkness to maintain in that person's body. So like the disease can't maintain in that environment.
I've heard that Beethoven Symphony, I don't know, 7 or something. Man. If you listen to that a lot, man, it fucking breaks up that cancer shit. I've heard that. I don't know.
No, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I mean, a vibrational kind of energy, you know. And what's giving everybody cancer? There were shitty vibrations, you know, from television and fucking weird music, and I don't know, man.
Yeah, even weird,
I think mine
even
came from the vaccine.
unnatural. Yeah, and even unnatural
Definitely.
thoughts.
You're right. Unnatural thoughts.
Right, like if someone hears something over and over, if like for instance, if you're exposed to these medical ads where they say side effects include, and if someone just hears it over and over and over, how many times?
Right.
Right, and then if they
They go,
believe
I
it,
could have that. I probably have that. I should probably talk to my doctor. I definitely
think,
might.
yeah, definitely. Thankfully, we can reorganize our cells with our thoughts. So, for instance, if you decide you want to take your health seriously, then you have to do a lot more research.
It really does. The rice experiment kind of exposes that in a lot of ways. To, you know, pretty simply, anybody can do it. You know.
Yeah.
Don't believe us? Check it out for yourself.
In fact, yeah, one guy, he's a business coach. He encourages people to go 7 days without saying a negative thought to anyone, even maybe yourself. And if you happen, if you slip up on day 6, at the end of the day, you got to start over.
Oh my goodness! All right, I'm gonna try that this summer, man. I'm gonna make that one.
Right?
Yeah.
7 days.
Just go a week without thinking a really bad thing about some asshole. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Have you ever even heard, dude? This is kind of a wild one, and I know some people would maybe try to kind of laugh at it or something, but I know it sounds wild. But have you ever heard of like when you wake up in the morning to like actually go in the mirror and compliment yourself? Just like literally give yourself like a string of
Sure,
compliments.
yeah. I've heard of these kind of positive, you know, reinforcements. Sure, man, absolutely.
It's like that Saturday Night Live thing, like I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me. What is that? That guy.
That was he's a politician now. He's a fucking politician. Al Franklin. That was him, right?
Yeah.
He's
Yeah, but
like
it's just kind of like in that category of like if you think a negative thought, does it make just like in the Emoto when all the water looks all distorted and all that when you know with negative vibes? Does that happen every time? Like if you say something negative, does your whole, does that happen in your body versus positive? So
absolutely,
yeah.
man. I think it makes a big difference. You know, you might not see results right away, but over a lifetime, man, if you're looking at positive things, it helps, man. And it's my research. But yeah, it's tough out there, man. It's tough. It's easy to get down some negative holes, man, around here, these parts these days, man, with all this communication, everything going on, man. It's like, wow, there's a fucking rabbit hole on every corner, man. Watch out.
Yeah.
But yeah, the ayahuasca thing, the way it could potentially like be sending the signals from your brain to the cells, and and
Yeah.
fixing your body. That's so cool,
Even
dude.
thinking. So one way to hack the nervous system, some people think, is think things that you're grateful for, because when you're thinking of things you're grateful for, you actually start to remember and then experience it, and you feel it once again. So
Yeah.
just go through the list of all the things you're grateful for. And imagine you combine that with ayahuasca or the other herbs that are on the.
I mean, you could do it with weed. You can do it maybe with a little bit of alcohol, or you can do it with some shrooms. Are really cool, man. I mean, my goodness. Yes, there's many ways. Everybody has a different vibe on that, but the rice experiment. You know, if you're positive on things, man, you know, good things happen. That's my, you know, experience.
Yeah, I mean the challenge is though people have trauma and a lot of so many issues, so they have aggression, anger, all kinds of stuff. So it makes it like very, very difficult to be positive. So then, you know, that's the challenge, obviously. So that's why I know with things like with working with ayahuasca, for example, and like if you really go into it with an open heart to really like face the deeper parts of yourself, then you can like heal those and resolve those so that you're just naturally happy all the time, as it were. Like once you get to the root of these things, I'm saying. So that's kind of it's like the catch-22. Like thinking positively is awesome, but if you have some like very deep traumas or anxieties or fears or whatever it may be, it makes it really difficult to do that, because it's sort of like that, you know, for some people it's like compulsive negativity, or, you know, or they can't stop, like even if they have like thinking in their own head, you know, like swearing or yelling, you know, or insulting people, you know, whatever, just even in their own mind, you know, compulsive, whatever it may be. And it's like, but if there's deeper aggression or frustration or whatever behind that, then it's like, that's the challenge. It's like, if you can resolve that, then it just happens naturally. Otherwise, you're always kind of trying to like bite your nails and force it for, you know, in some ways. It could be in some ways, like if it's not coming naturally.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much trauma in my lifetime and yours that, you know, whether your sister hit you in the head or fucking your parents spanked you, I don't know, man. I had a lot of trauma, but yeah, you got to break through that, man. And that's not easy, man. It was not easy for me. I struggled, but I think I made it through, bro. I think I got it. It rears its ugly head every once in a while, man. I don't like getting frustrated on things, man. I kind of usually take it in stride. It's like, oh shit, I got a flat tire, man. Damn. Well, that's not cool. But you know, break out the spare. Let's get going here. We got it. But yeah, not everybody's like that, man. It takes a while to get there, I think.
Eden, what do you generally think? Like, so what, like, in terms of like the whole Christianity situation, and then just something like these plants, there is actually the Santo Daime Church is actually, they actually do use ayahuasca, and they actually have a Christian, a bit of a Christian influence. They don't quite use ayahuasca the exact same way the shamans do, like in the jungle, but they do use ayahuasca actually. They kind of use it like somewhat like maybe not the highest of dosages, kind of like maybe medium, and then they have their things they do. So there is that actually kind of you know, uses actually Christianity with ayahuasca. That's one in particular, the Santo Daime Church. And there may be some others, but generally Christianity is really not like inherently connected with ayahuasca. Although, do you know what's interesting about the word ayahuasca? It actually contains
Wow.
Here, let me type it. Yeah, it's got. Hold on. Okay, see ayahuasca. It has Yahuwah. So if you just take the Yahua, Yahuwah, which I know you guys talk, you know, in terms of that. So it has that, and it has Yah in it.
Wow.
Yah.
Interesting. Yeah, I believe the Creator did give us herbs. It's been outlined in the Bible and it's been tested in court, Gio. There was that guy, Dr. Sebai, when he defended himself in New York Supreme Court against prosecutors who already had like a 400 plus winning streak. He already, oh, it was incredible, and he won, and he used the Bible in his defense because he asked the judge, he's like, Judge, doesn't it say in Revelations that the herbs are used for the healing of the nations? And she's like, yeah. Not
Yeah.
just
So that yeah. So that's kind of what I wanted to. No, I hear you on that. And the thing is, like, okay, so like Lion and I one night, and we were noticing that it has Yah and Yahuwah. However, like in terms of ayahuasca, though, like that word, that's one thing. Like, where did that word come from? Does that come? Is there a connect with the Yah thing, with the Yah, lineage of that in connection to that? However, but the thing is, though, when people working with this plant, though, it's not like it takes them to a Christian God, though. Like generally, they come to a spirituality, like within themselves, the nature of consciousness, that their own, there's a spirituality that emerges kind of organically with all these plants. It seems like, in terms of, if you work with these particular plants like extensively spiritually, there is like but what I'm saying is that with ayahuasca, though, it's not like it doesn't take everyone to a Christian God or to Jesus necessarily, in that way. So like, if you know what I'm saying, like, I was just trying to, like, in terms of that link, like, if the creation has these plants in it, that if you just consume them in the right set and setting, you'll just naturally come to a spirit, your own spirituality, etc. Well, you'll have yours, but it won't necessarily be in a Christian context. You know
yeah,
what I'm
I
saying?
think yeah, absolutely. I think maybe to your point, it would be like a multi-step thing, and I'll get to why someone would be wanting to be a Christian. Let's say if you take a staunch atheist, a militant atheist who's never experienced ayahuasca, and then he tries it, then he might be in tune. Wow, there is a creator, because I've never.
He won't be
seen
an
all-
atheist anymore. Ayahuasca will
Exactly.
destroy atheism. Absolutely. Annihilates it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
often in one session. Yeah, it's like atheism's cooked quickly.
yeah, and then the reason why someone might want to become a Christian is not would be because of how they maybe acted in life. Like, so it wouldn't be like of maybe other things. It's generally because of like the moral conduct that maybe one partook in. But yeah. So definitely, I can see both. I can see. I can see why ayahuasca wouldn't bring someone to Christianity per se right away, unless, let's say, someone was going into this session, and then someone asked them and took them through the 10 Commandments, and then they were like self-reflecting through that experience. That might be pretty trippy. I don't know, but I've never tried it myself. But I definitely believe that it would bring a militant atheist right out of atheism. For sure, yeah.
No, it definitely does that. It definitely pulls. So I would say this with all these, like, okay, if we're talking like mushrooms, are in there. I mean, LSD, which is semi-synthetic, but LSD is like lysergic acid, which is found in nature, and LSD is just a very potent form of lysergic acid. It's just like cosmic light downloaded directly, like just like like fractal holographic light directly delivered to your cerebellum. Anyway, so lysergic acid, and then you have ayahuasca, which does contain DMT and also harmine and harmaline. You have peyote, which contains mescaline. You have iboga, which contains ibogaine, etc. So if we're talking about these particular category of these plants, but also, even if we remove all the plants and we just use breathing, just breath work, you can actually enter these states of consciousness, even just using breath, and of course fasting as well. So there's ways to do it with no plants at all. However, the plants are very powerful activators. So what I'm trying to say is that from all of these experiences, from all those things I just mentioned, when you really induce these powerful experiences, there is a percentage of people that will have Christian connected experiences. They might see Jesus, they might communicate with Jesus, they might communicate with, or they may have various different experiences related to Christianity. There's some percentage that do. And for some of them, it's kind of just like part of their process, but they don't necessarily go down a Christian path, after that. But it's kind of like they had a connection with Jesus or something, but it doesn't necessarily spur them to go into the Christian tradition. It's just part of their experience. And then for other people, it may even spark them to, continue their studies in that direction, as it were. But I don't know, exactly what that percentage is, but I'm just saying there is like maybe it's like 8% or something, or something. I mean, I don't even know if it's even 1 out of 10 per se. It might even be like 1 out of 20, or I'm not sure. But because some people have experiences, towards a Vedic background. Some people, I mean, there's people have different, obviously, like spiritual connections to things. So, anyways, I guess I'm just saying, like, there is that, like, the connection to, in terms of Christianity, that it is just natural that a certain percentage of people will have experiences related to that tradition.
I don't think the Roman Catholics would do that, but then again, I wouldn't trust a lot of, what comes from them, because they already reject the Bible, right? They'll probably say, don't listen to Revelations where the herbs are healing for the healing of the nation. Go to your doctor. You know what I mean? So it's just interesting. But yeah, I agree with you. And what your last sentiments. And thanks for pointing out that there are some Christian denominations that use it, for sure. I know Dr. Sebai recommended marijuana for most of his patients, if not all. So, and he healed many people. It was incredible.
Well, I guess kind of what I was like a little bit opening the conversation to is that if the creator, as it were, put certain plants into the environment, that if you just simply consume those plants, like you just consume them, of course, in the right set and setting, like close your eyes, I'm not talking about, doing them in some way where you're not paying attention, you're running around or whatever it is. I'm talking about, like, in a sacred way, you consume the plant and go deep with it. And I'm talking about obviously certain plants, not just any plant, but these very certain ones. I guess what I'm trying to allude to, like, do you think that those plants in nature that are, and I don't know how much you know about them and stuff, so that's fine. I'm not trying to kind of, like, depending, but like the experiences people have are wide ranging, and it can be very powerful in different ways, and the whole range of experiences. And there are some that are connected to Jesus and the Christianity part of it. But what I'm saying is that, like, if the ultimate truth was the Christianity path, as it were, wouldn't the plants in nature, like, take everyone to that? See what I'm saying?
Great question. I do have a response.
Uh,
Great question. I don't think there's a plant per se in the Bible that says take this and it'll lead you to Jesus. The only thing I think that will do is the idea that is planted in the mind of someone, and that the idea that's planted is morality. So the Ten Commandments. That's the only reason why someone should become a Christian, not because of the benefits or not because of. The only reason someone should become a Christian is because Jesus told us we have to repent if we want to go to heaven. And repent means he was referring to those Jews as from the Ten Commandments, essentially. So we have to stop lying. And, like, for instance, let's imagine I'm in Vanguard and I'm lying, I'm stealing, I'm dishonoring God by lying and stealing, etc. Then I have to repent, meaning I have to stop all that lying and stealing and then make it right to the public and say, hey guys, I was lying about the shape of the world. You know what I mean?
Just Rockefeller come out like, yo guys, we cranked you out here. Sorry about that.
Yes.
Well, you guys have all heard of, like, predictive programming. They tell you before what they're doing. Isn't that what they're doing with that? Is that a repentance for them?
No, because true repentance is that when they do a 180.
Well, I mean, I will say, like, in the equalness of that, like, because there's a lot of different wisdom traditions, a lot of different wisdom teachings in a lot of traditions, and I think pretty much all of them have some wisdom in them, in different ways. I will say, like, generally, in terms of something like working with ayahuasca, like, it seems as though, like, the ayahuasca will address the morals and the ethics, like, meaning if somebody is living a life where they are, cheating, stealing, lying, doing something that's hurtful to others. If they're taking ayahuasca or iboga is even more. Iboga's from Africa. It's like the root of a plant, and it's very, very powerful. And iboga's different in some ways, but iboga's like a truth medicine. Like, it will strip away anything that is not true. Like, if you're lying to yourself or if you're lying to others, iboga will just, like, shred that, like, in an amazing way. With love and with intelligence. But it just, like, it won't persist. Like, you will not be able to keep lying to yourself in a way. I'm not saying it's like a truth serum, like you give it to someone and force them to tell the truth. I'm saying that, like, intelligence to it. And so anyway, so like in terms of that, like if you are doing anything that's morally or ethically wrong, it seems like, ayahuasca and iboga, but iboga is even more of like, it's like a stern teacher, but like ayahuasca can be as well, to where like it will, I'm just saying like it seems to address all of those things, very directly. Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, if people were to reassess themselves with that and change, yeah, absolutely. That Jesus said essentially he didn't come for the righteous. He came for those who need to seek repentance. So for sure, people who repent, I'm sure, even if they didn't get the word of Jesus, but they repented, like in another word, like they changed for the better, I think the Creator would be very pleased with them. And yeah, because he made the plants as well to make that is an avenue. It wouldn't surprise me at all. The Bible does say it, so it's used for the healing of nations. So if someone took the plants and they were healed and they were brought back to the Creator and they decided, let's say, I want to. They were someone who made a lot of bad choices, like lying and stealing, like from the public, doing random acts of violence, and then they completely shifted. I'm sure that's what the Creator wants, and that's why he made it. So yeah, I do think so, Gio.
Well,
Wouldn't
let me
surprise
share
me
this
at all.
with you. Like, let me share this with you. Like the idea of a creator. Like, what would you say if I told you that a lot of people who work with these plants like can go very, very, very deep, like facing their own traumas and issues, going deeper than themselves, and then having like unitive experiences, like very, very powerful. Even mystical experiences. And again, this can be done just with breathing, so it doesn't necessarily have to even be a plant. But of course, the plants can be a very powerful, like super highway to these experiences, whereas breathing takes a little more time and effort, and it's a little more nuanced. However, the breath work can actually be very powerful, actually. People have had very powerful experiences, like literally as powerful as a high-dose LSD session, just using breath, meaning no LSD at all, just breath. So breathing can be profoundly powerful as well. So just that alone. So it just shows that these experiences are coming from within the human. They're not necessarily just, a plant or something, because they can happen without a plant. But anyways, I guess, what I was going to say is that like when people feel like they get to like the finale of the spiritual journey of like who they are, where they came from, all that, like they don't necessarily go to a creator, like a God outside of them with like, or like an Abrahamic or that kind of thing. They generally come to realizing that ultimately like they are one with the source. Like they are, we are all one. Like if there's one God, then they realize that, okay, they are that God that created everything. I'm not saying that they are God, quote unquote, but just that they are one with all that exists.
Absolutely, yeah. Like
And that's like the enlightenment or the final thing. It's not necessarily like another God that you did something for. It's actually like, oh, I realize I am this whole thing. I made this whole thing. I created it on another level of consciousness, far, far, and now I'm, waking up, if you want to say that, or realizing, who I am, where I am, how I put myself here.
What do you think about extrasensory perception?
Well, hold on. Before you just switch to something, Eden, do you want to respond to that? Because I know that was a lot, and
that was a lot. Yeah. Let's break it.
It was a lot. Sorry.
Yeah, I thank you, Gio, and thank you for your patience. Yeah, I do believe I've heard it. I was just reading about it today. How sometimes when a creator, he becomes part of his creation somehow because of I forgot exactly how. I just read it once and it didn't really sink in where I can articulate it, but it was essentially trying to convey that the artist or the creator is actually within his work somehow. So I can see that for sure, Gio. And
or like
you.
the idea that I guess, like to put it in a kind of a certain harsh way, I guess, but it's like you've like trapped yourself within your own capacities, within your own creation in a way, like trapping some part of yourself within it, to where this part within it, oh, what is this place? I don't know what it is, even though on the higher level you totally know what it is. But then you create these other parts of yourself that you can then, like, there's the idea of like partitions, like a partition on a hard drive. But I guess what I'm getting is that when people like use these plants or even the breath work, like when they get to the end of their spiritual journey, I just wonder what you thought of it. I'm not trying to like debate Christianity or say it's wrong necessarily. I'm just wondering kind of what you think of like that when people use the plants that come from nature and when they kind of go really, really deep and they work through their own traumas and they're like the warrior of their own mind. So they go deep and they face their demons, as it were. And then they get to the completion. It tends to be more of that, like, kind of like the unitive experience with them, with the divine, with themselves, and that they are one and the same with everything, and that's kind of the like awakening they have, rather than necessarily like getting to the end and going to an Abrahamic God. So that's why I kind of wonder like what you thought, just that's like the general trajectory that people go through.
I definitely I could just sum it up that I believe that the Abrahamic God for the Jews is the same God for all of us. Like they well, that's just my opinion. So I don't think anyone has to like just believe it's the I mean, I guess I say the Abrahamic people kind of. Oh, you know, that's a great question. I believe that people from the Abrahamic faith worship the same God that a lot of other people worship, but they just I don't know. You know what, Gio? I'll have to formulate a response to that because
Yeah, smoke on that one. Take a breath.
yeah, thank you.
That was.
Well, I guess a little bit. Maybe I mean,
heavy
it's not even really like a full blown like argument. But I guess in a way, I am alluding to maybe like that question of what is the ultimate truth, and then these different ideas of it. Yeah. And I'm not saying like I'm not saying I have it or whatever it may be. I'm just saying that like I'm just kind of commenting on that, like just like kind of the results on that end of it, I suppose. And then I mean, I guess maybe if it was kind of more on an argumentative level in a way, I would almost, I mean, like I do think the ultimate truth is that we are all one in that sense. Like we are, God, as it were, the creator, the source. There's one source. There isn't like five sources. There's one. Therefore, we have to be it because there's one source. There's only one thing. Now, that one thing can create incredible separations within itself that can seem very real, but ultimately, I don't think they're real. So, yeah, I guess if I were to put forth, like, I do think that is the ultimate truth, or at least something within that range of it, in terms of that. So, I don't know. Like, does that oppose what Christianity says? Do you think, or because
I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe it does align. I would have to ask a rabbi and then see what he thinks, and he might actually agree with you.
Well, it says that there's parts in the Bible that say that, like in terms of things alluding to that. But there's some that will, I think, kind of some Christians that will kind of criticize that and say, "Oh no, all this, the we're all one New Agey thing." They'll say that kind of thing.
Okay, yeah, I would like the input of like a well-studied Hebrew scholar and see what the consensus is there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I really haven't poured over the scriptures myself as to the level that I wish I would have right now, but I'm still in the process.
Well, but you think right now though that your position right now or your viewpoint is that there is like a God outside of yourself?
Yes. And he interacts with us in this realm, what's known as it's like a soul, but the Bible calls it the Holy Spirit, and he can enter in people. Yeah.
Okay, then let me ask kind of like this. So if you like on your journey, as it were, when you get to the completion, what would that look like? Like, would that be like you and that God, like hanging out, like you and him?
If I'm not mistaken, similar. Okay, this is what I've been told, and this is why I became a Christian. I was told that some people are gonna face judgment, just like in a courtroom, and I don't have money to pay the victims' fines in that realm because I don't think they take American, I don't think they take Canadian, I don't think they take peso. So because I don't think I'll have what is required to meet these fines, I'm just accepting the free gift of Jesus. And it's not only that, I actually have to repent too. It's like a criminal. Imagine a criminal caught. He was on the run for 77 years, but he's brought before the judge. The judge will say, I guess, I've been good all this time now, or things have changed, and the judge should say, yeah, good, that's the way it should be, but he'll still throw the book at the guy, and because he broke the law.
I got you. Well, but after that, like, yeah, like if you don't get like eliminated or sent to hell or whatever, and you make it through that.
We're invited into heaven.